I always wanted to move to America to do comedy. Even when I was starting out in Australia, I was doing pretty okay in Australia. Like, I'm just speaking objectively here, just results wise. I was selling out some theaters in Australia. I can kind of sell at theaters all around the country, I think, so I was at that kind of level here. I was getting on TV a little bit, Australian TV, there's not a lot of opportunities, but people were always asking me to kind of guest in their shows. I actually had a sitcom here as well, on the ABC in Australia. So I was doing okay here, but I always kind of wanted to go to America because that's where all my comedy heroes were. I wanted to try to get as close to them to see if I could even get close to them in terms of comedic ability. And obviously,
you grew up here a little bit as well, right? Manchester, New Hampshire.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, Manchester, New Hampshire. Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. So I always kind of wanted to go back, and also bigger market. Obviously, economically, it's just a bigger market, and comedy, you can make more money in America. So I always kind of want to go there and test myself, and also I feel like it would have been good for my career if I could have gone to America, and so I was going to move anyway. And I think how naive I was to think of moving without any, just from scratch, just move it. Yeah, without any plan to start from scratch, because I think in comedy, there's a lot of hierarchy. And I think all the good comics pride themselves in that hierarchy of like grinding it out and getting, slowly progressing through the ranks to better and better shows. And if you take a step outside of that, it's so dumb. But when you're in it, you're like in it. You're like, yeah, I need to do this open mic so I can get onto that open mic so that I can one day hopefully get onto this show that actually has real people who want to be here. And so you play that game, and sometimes you can get too caught up in it. But I'm just saying that's our world, right? So I was there, and I was lucky that I did a show with Trevor Noah in 2013 in Montreal at Just for Laughs. I got invited to that festival, did a show with Trevor Noah. He really liked what I was doing. And then we didn't speak for 2 years because we just never communicated, but he remembered me. And when he got the Daily Show, he asked me to audition for it. He essentially got me on the show. I mean, I auditioned for the show and I was very nervous auditioning for it, but there was also an element of like, yeah, this could definitely life-changing, and this would be my gateway to America and all that. But at the same time, it was like, if you're not good enough, you're not good enough. Like I don't know. For me, I'll be disappointed, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't want to play on the NBA team if I'm not supposed to be there. I don't know. That's just my philosophy towards it. So that helped me deal with the nerves, if you know what I mean. Because I'm like, damn, I'm like, I have plenty of time to prepare for this audition. The audition is you write your own segment and then you perform one of their existing segments and then you send the tape in. So that's a simple enough proposition, and I'm like, man, if I can't even write a segment, maybe I don't even deserve to be on the show, right? So I just wrote it, and, I based it off some of my stand-up material, and I sent it in, and they asked me for a second audition, same thing. And then the third audition was in the studio with Trevor. We did a chemistry test, and everyone was there. That was probably the most nerve-wracking one, because that's the first time I actually saw him. And then the executive producers were there, Comedy Central executives,
cameras and shit, the whole thing.
Yeah. In New York, it happened everything was remotely done, and that one was in New York. I flew to New York just to do this, But again, it's like the prep, if you're prepped and you like it's and you're playing yourself, like how can you fuck that up, right? So yeah, that's how I kind of, maybe in hindsight, maybe I was more nervous at that. Maybe I don't know if I'm painting a rosy picture, but that was definitely my mindset of like, hey, I was happy with my audition, is what I'm trying to say. If I was unhappy with it, maybe I'll have more regrets, but I was like, hey, I laid it on the line here, and if I don't get it, I guess I can live with that, because what else can I do, right? I can't be someone else.
Yeah. So that's a key thing that, like, a lot of the time we will get to eventually if I'm working with a performer as a performance coach, and often the acceptance of what's the worst thing that can happen here. Like, I've done everything I can, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. It's not because that doesn't make me a less person. Doesn't mean I'm a failure. It just means this one hasn't worked, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And that's like, to your quip earlier, which is accurate. Like, that's fine for you and me to say, because like, we're not going to die if we fuck it up.
Yeah.
Some people do put their lives on the line. They're protecting other lives. They might be a surgeon. They could be all sorts of jobs that have bigger consequences. But often even talking with those operators, it will come down to a point of like, if you've done everything you can, acceptance is the key to actually being able to be in the moment, as opposed to be caught up in what happens if, or have I done enough?
Exactly. Yeah. No, I can get behind that. Yeah.
Is there someone, so you mentioned Trevor there, who obviously you made some sort of impression on him and he gave you a great opportunity. Is he someone that you look at because of the level of success that he's achieved, getting his own show with an actual name on it, his name on the title, but also being a quasi-international, he's kind of this hybrid guy. You look at him as a hero and a mentor, or is he like more of a colleague and friend?
Yeah, he's definitely a hero. He's definitely a hero and mentor. Like, he's my age. I think he's maybe a year older, I think. And no, but I knew of him in the circuit. So I was doing the Australian Comedy Festival circuit and the Edinburgh Fringe Festival circuit in the UK. I was doing these two circuits for 3 or 4 years. And he was doing the same circuit at the same time, but he was blowing up on that thing. I was doing okay, but he was the kind of guy who went to Edinburgh from South Africa. Eddie Izzard was promoting him, and he would go from literally, the story is he went from like that small, typical Edinburgh festival room, 10, 20 seater, 30 seater. And by the end of the festival, he was in the biggest venue in Edinburgh, 1,500 seats, which is unheard of. So he was kind of like trailblazing. And I think with comedians, like, I always say, like, Alan Havey, this New York comic, told me, he put it the best. He said, like, stand-up comics were in it for ourselves, but we're in it together. Because stand-up comedy is a solo sport.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the guys who are good at it all relate to each other. Like, and the way I say it is that with comedy, if you're a good comic, like, there's envy, but there's no jealousy. Like, there's envy, and the difference for me is like, envy is like when someone gets something good or when someone's doing something great, you're like, man, that's awesome. I wish I could get that. What do I have to do to get that? And as opposed to jealousy, which is like, damn, that's great. I should have gotten that. He shouldn't have gotten that.
Right.
I wish I got that. I wish he didn't get it. And that's different, right? It's
a cool distinction.
Yeah, I think so. I think the jealousy thing is very negative, right? It doesn't help anyone. I think envy can be motivational, right? So I think there was an aspect of that. I've seen him at work. I've seen him work every day. He's unbelievable. I've seen him. We toured Singapore together last year. Singapore's one of my hometowns. I lived there for 10 years. My parents lived there. So I kind of felt like a responsibility. I tour there myself sometimes. I felt a responsibility to show him around his first time in Singapore. So I went to Singapore and opened for him and tried to show him
if I have to show you around, was it one of those?
Yeah. And I saw him in Singapore. He did 2 shows, and the context is he was having a throat issue, a very serious throat issue. He couldn't talk. It's career threatening.
Kind of a problem.
Yeah. And he's under doctor's orders. You have to shut up as much as you can. So the whole time we're in Singapore, he's using sign language. He's like, I want to eat that. He's not even talking. He literally not talking. So I didn't hear him speak for the 3 days we were together. 0 sounds. And then the show starts, and that's the first time I hear him talk. And he's talking about all this Singapore stuff, which I never heard him talk about because he was silent. And he's making local references. He's joking about all these extremely Singaporean things, and the crowd is loving it. So, his ability to observe what's happening that day and make a joke about it that night, unparalleled. And then even more spectacularly, the second show, he did 2 shows that night. The second show did a completely different set, different material, because he was just figuring it out in his head. And I was like, man, unbelievable. I'm like blown away by that. When you see a good sports person just play, you're like, man, that is unbelievable. You try to get to that heights,